Hi, good morning. This is your topic today. Copy that into your table of contents, converting between fractions, decimals, percent. So we've been working on this. So let's put it all together today. And man, that's that. Copy, press pause if you need a few seconds to copy this. You do not need a left side today. Okay. So, and let's go to our first one. So we're going to review how to change between all of them today. Okay. So our first one. Actually, before we do that, let's just look at what they are. Decimals, fractions, and percentages. Decimal fractions and percentages are just different ways of showing the same value. Okay, think of, I don't know, three languages. Okay, they're each all a different way of saying the same thing. So look at that pizza on the top. Half of a pizza as a fraction can be written as 1 over 2. As a decimal can be written as 0.5. And as a percentage, it means 50%. They all mean exactly the same thing, the same value. A quarter. I have one. A pizza was cut up to 4 pieces. One is left over. How do I represent that one that's left over as a fraction? Well, since it was cut into 4 and I have one left over, it would be 1 out of 4. As a decimal, it'd be 0.25. And as a percentage, it'd be 25%. Okay, if you want to think of it as a quiz, you have a quiz with 4 questions. You got one correct, so that'd be 1 out of 4, 0.25, or you got 25% on your quiz. They're all the same grade. Okay, so please copy this. I do want, this is a nice example. Okay, very simple, but illustrates nicely how 3 things can mean the same thing, although they're written in 3 different ways. Okay, again, press pause for those of you who need time to copy this, and then when you're ready, press play. First thing I want to go over is changing from a percent to a decimal. You will copy this. Okay, and we're going to do a few problems so that I can show you how exactly this works. So it says here, to change from percent to decimal, you're going to move the decimal point 2 places to the left and remove the percent sign. So let me actually do this example here at the bottom. So here you have 75%. You want to change this to a decimal. First thing you're going to do is get rid of this percent sign. That's what it says. And then I'm going to write that 75 without the percent sign here. The number 75 right now, as you can see, there is no decimal. So anytime you see a number with no decimal, doesn't mean it's not there, it just means it's invisible because there's no use for it. But we need it. So where is it? It's always here on the right of the last digit. Whenever you can't see one, it's all the way to the right. So step 2 says move it to the left twice. So move it once, goes right here. Move it twice, is right there. So that's where my new decimal location is going to be. So cleaning that up, which you should always do, makes it a decimal, the new location, next to 7, and then the numbers. So, well, we do add a 0 here, so just to make it pretty, okay, or because like nice placeholder. So 75% becomes 0.75. Okay, let me do a few more here with you guys. Okay. Oh, anytime, please press pause so you can just copy the procedure on top in the example. Okay, and the ones at the bottom. Let's try another one. Let's try 86.2%. Let's try an example that already has a decimal in it. So step 1 is to remove the percent sign. That goes out. Let me write it again. So you have now left 86.2. Nothing changes. Step 2 to this problem would be to move that decimal 2 places to the left. So it's going to go from here to here, and it's going to go one more. So the new location is where that x is. So it's actually going to be 0.862. And I add a 0 here so that it's not empty. Okay? Is it necessary? No, but it's just makes it prettier. Okay. Let's try another one. Let's try 5%. So same thing first. The first thing we do is get rid of the percent sign. And that becomes a simple 5. And again, in this number, the decimal is not visible, so we can add it. And it's always here on the right side. And where are we going to go? We're going to go to the left. So we're going to go 1. And we're going to go another one. And X marks the new space. So you need to see this empty spot here. You can't leave it empty. Okay, so when we rewrite this and clean it up, you actually write a decimal. That empty spot here, we fill it with a 0. And the 5 goes over here. And we add the 0 here in the front to make it pretty. So 5% as a decimal is 0.05. Okay. Why don't you take 2 seconds and do these two on your own? So let's try 14.28 and 0.03%. So 2 problems. Press pause, try to do it, and come back. All right, so step 1 here would be to eliminate this percent sign. So it becomes 14.28. Step 2 says move the decimal 2 places to the left. So we're going to go 1 and we're going to go 2. So that's my new spot where the X is. So cleaning that up, it would be 0.1428. And we add a 0 here in the front. 0.03%. To change that to a decimal, we're going to get rid of the percent sign. And you have 0.03. Step 2 is to move that decimal 2 places to the left. You're going to go 1 and you're going to go 2. X marks the new spot for the decimal. You'll notice there's a blank spot here, so when we rewrite it, we go decimal. That blank spot was filled with a 0, and then a 0, a 0, and a 3. And we add a 0 here in the front as a placeholder. So 0.03% as a decimal is 0.0003. Okay? Next page. Okay, so copy first, press pause, and then when you come back, we'll do it. Okay? Alright, now that you've copied this, so this is from decimal to percent. So we're going to go the other way. The previous page was percent to decimal. This is decimal to percent. So decimal to percent is backwards. So here is our number, 0.125. Step 1, it's all backwards. The first thing you're going to do is move the decimal to the right. We're going to go 1 and then 2. So our new location is between the 2 and the 5. So it's 1, 2.5. And then what do? We add the percent sign. Do I need the 0 here in the front? No, I don't. So I can eliminate that one. Okay. Let's try another decimal. Let's try the number 36. Or not 36. Let's try 3.6. Okay, so step 1 is to move that decimal 2 spaces to the right. Okay. So you're going to go 1 and you're going to go another one. So that's my new location right here. So to clean that up, I'm going to write 3, a 6. Remember, when it's an empty space like this right here, we add a 0, and a decimal goes all the way at the end. And then we add the percent sign. Now, do we need this decimal at the end? No, we don't. So we can actually erase it. Okay. So try these two at the bottom on your own. And I'm going to try number 4. Change that to a decimal. And the number 0.003. So change these two to a decimal. Press pause. Finish. Come back. All right, so 4. 4 has no decimal, as you can see, so we're going to make one right there. We're moving the decimal 2 spaces to the right, so it's going to go 1 and 2. So the new decimal goes all the way at the end, okay, where the X is. So let's rewrite that nicely. So it's a 4, and that empty space we're going to fill it with a 0. That second empty space we're going to fill it with another 0, and we're going to write the decimal at the end and add the percent sign. So it's 400 point percent sign. Do we need that decimal at the end? No, we don't. Again, we can erase that because it's not necessary. Okay, 0.003. As a decimal, we're going to change, so that's as a decimal, we're going to change it to percent. So again, here's my decimal. I'm going to move it 2 spaces to the right. I'm going to go 1, and I'm going to go 2, so it's between the 0 and the 3, so it becomes 0.3%. Do I need the other 2 zeros here in the front? No, I don't. Just one should be enough. Okay? So that's decimal to percent. Now we have fraction to decimal. I know you have this. I know you wrote this down, but we're going to copy it anyway again. So here, from a fraction to a decimal, the easiest way to convert a fraction to a decimal is to divide the top number, the numerator, by the bottom number, the denominator. Okay? Here's an easy example. 2 over 5 to a decimal, divide 2 by 5, and 2 divided by 5 is 0.4. Okay? And I'll do that here on the side. So 2 divided by 5, okay, so we have 2, remember, the numerator always goes inside, and divide by 5. So 5 does not go into 2, so I'm not allowed, I'll put a 0 on top of the 2. I'm allowed to add a decimal, or not allowed, I add a decimal, which then allows me to add a 0 here, that's what I meant. And 5 can finally go into 20 4 times, evenly. So my answer is 0.4, which is exactly what you have over here. Okay, so 2 over 5 as a decimal is 0.4. Why don't you try with two numbers here? Why don't you try changing this to a decimal and changing that to a decimal? See what you get. So press pause. When you come back, go over it. Okay. So 7 over 8. So numerator goes inside, 7. 8 goes outside. And 8 does not go into 7, so I add a 0. Add a decimal. I'm allowed to add a 0 now. 8 goes into 70, 6, 7, 8 times. 8 times 8 is 64. And subtract that. I get a 6 left over. I'm going to add another 0. Bring that down. 8 goes into 60 7 times, which is 56. And let me just pull this up again. And I have a leftover of 4. I bring another 0 down. 8 goes into 40 5 times. That's going to be nice and even. So 7 over 8 as a fraction, 7 over 8 as a decimal is 0.875. Okay? Let's try over 1 over 9. 1 divided by 9. 9 does not go into 1, so we put a 0 on top, add a decimal. 9 goes into 10 9 times. One time. 9 goes into 10 one time. And we subtract. Have a 1 left over. Bring another 0 down. And 9 goes into 10 again one time. So this is going to be a repeating decimal. So if we add another 0, you'll see that it's the same answer over and over. So we're going to write that 1 over 9 is 0 point, and the part that repeats is the 1 with a bar notation. Okay? Next, Decimal to fraction. Write the number shown as a numerator without the decimal. The place value of the last digit determines, plural, determines, singular, I'm sorry, determines the value of the denominator. And 3, simplify. So here we have an example. Actually, copy, come down. Alright, done copying. So it says, step 1, write. So let me write this fraction bar first. I'm going to write that number here without the decimal. I take the decimal out, and then I'm going to write 24. And I'm going to now find out what my denominator is. And to find out, I look at the last number, which is 4. And the 4 is in the hundredth place value. And that's what I write, 24 over 100. If I can simplify, I will. And in this case, I can. I can divide 24 by 4. Okay, 24 by 4 gives me 6. And 100 divided by 4 gives me 25. And that's the answer I'm looking for. 6 over 25. Okay, so why don't you guys try a couple at the bottom? I'll just make a couple up. Let's see, 0.38, and why don't we try 1.45? See what you get. Okay. Alright, so hopefully you press pause. Let's see what you get. 0.38, right top number. That's 38. The bottom was the last place value, which is 100. We can simplify, divide top and bottom by 2. We get 19 over 50. This one. So we write the number without the decimal. So it becomes 145 over what? Look at the 5, which is again in the hundreds place, and you get 145 over 100. You were not going to leave it like this. You're always going to change this to a mixed number. Okay, so let's change that to a mixed number. So 100 goes into 145 one time, and you have 45 left over 100. I can still simplify this. I can leave the 1 by itself alone because nothing can be done, but I can simplify the fraction 45 over 100. Divide both top and bottom by 5. 45 divided by 5 is 9. And 100 divided by 5 is 20. My final answer is 1 and 9/20. So 1.45 as a decimal is written as 1 and 9/20 as a fraction. Fraction to percent. Okay, this one has a little bit more steps. So we're going to do it. I'll show you. So, copy. Step 1 is change it to a decimal. Step 2 is move the decimal 2 spaces to the right, and then add the percent sign. So, let's take a number like 3 over 4. 3 over 4, you change it to a decimal. You're going to divide 3 by 4, and that's going to end up getting you 0.75. So, step 1 is done. We change it to a decimal. Now we're going to change this to a percent. And to move it to percent, change it to percent, we're going to move this decimal 2 spaces to the right, 1 and 2. So it ends up being next to the 5. So clean that up. It becomes 75. Here's my decimal. And 3, add the percent sign. And we don't need this, so I'm going to erase that decimal spot right there. Okay, so that's basically what it is. You got to change the fraction to a decimal by dividing numerator by denominator, and then once you have it as a decimal, you change it by moving the decimal 2 spaces to the right and adding the percent sign. Okay, so I still want you to do a couple ones. So let's try. Oh, I don't know. Let's try 5 over 12. And 2 over 5. See what you get. So press pause. and then let's see what you get. All right, so 5 over 12. I'm going to divide 5 by 12. 12 does not go into 5, so I'm going to add a 0. I'm going to add a decimal, and I'm going to add a 0 here. So 12 goes into 50 4 times, which is 48. Subtract 2 left over. I'm going to add another 0, see how far I can continue this. 12 goes into 20 about 1 time, which is 12. I have an 8 left over. Bring another 0 down. And 12 goes into 80 5 times? No, 6. 6 times. Which gives me 72. And I'm not liking this problem. That's an 80. I pick a bad number. 1 second. 5 divided by 12. Yes, I did. I picked a biased number. So let's not do this one. Okay, I apologize. You can hear the complaints from here. So that was a bad number to do. So let's try another one. My apologies. Let's try 1 second, guys. Nope, that's a bad number here. Hang on a second. Alright, so I'm sorry. Let's try 5 over 16. Okay, this is what I'm going to work. So I'm sorry. Try it, press pause. So if you did this, 16 does not go into 5, put a 0 over here, put a decimal. 16 goes into 53 times, which is 48. 2 left over, bring a 0 down. 16 goes into 20 one time. 4 left over, add another 0, bring it down. 16 goes into 42 times, which is 36, no, which is 32. Gives me an 8, bring another 0 down. And 16 goes into 85 times. There's a nice number. So this one ends up that 5 over 16 as a decimal, and I'll write it, and I'm going to erase this, come back to that. 5 over 16 as a decimal is 0.3125. Okay, so pretend you had 16 questions on the quiz, you got 5 correct. As a decimal, this would be that's what you got. 0.3125, but you want it as a percent. So let's follow the rule. So now to change this to a percent, we move this to the right twice. 1, 2, and it's going to be between the 1 and 2. So cleaning that up, you get 31.25, and now we add the percent sign. So that would be your score on Scheduler. Okay. The other question was 2 over 5. That was a much simpler one. 2 over 5. 2 over here. 5 outside, 5 no, so add a 0. 5 goes into 20 4 times. That was easy enough. So 0.4 is what 2 over 5 looks like as a decimal. So we're going to change this to a percent. We move this decimal 2 spaces to the right, 1, 2. So my new decimal is all over there. There's an empty space here, so let's write it. So it becomes 4. And a 0 that I've used to fill in that empty space, and the decimal here, and add the percent sign. So 2 over 5 is 40%, and you'll notice that I don't need that decimal, and I'm going to erase it. So it's 40%. So if you had a quiz, you got 2 correct out of 5, you would get 40%. Okay. A percent to a fraction. This one's really easy. We move the percent sign. Write the number in the numerator. Write the number in the numerator. Write the number. Okay, so hang on a second. Here we go. So write the number as the numerator with a denominator of 100. So copy that. We'll do a couple problems. Okay, so percent to a fraction. This one's really easy. Okay, let's look at any percent to a fraction. So let's try, I don't know, for argument's sake, 14%. So first thing, I remove the percent sign and then write whatever I have left over, 14 in this case, as a numerator with a denominator of 100. Remember, 14%, okay, is a ratio, the part to total ratio, okay, always compared to 100. So we have 14 out of 100. That's what it means, 4%. 14%, 14 out of 100. We can simplify this, divide top and bottom by 2, get 7 over 50. Okay, so that's what 14 means as a fraction. Let's try one more. Why don't you guys try a couple at the bottom? I don't know, 36%, and try let's just do one. 36%. Press pause for a little bit. Alright, so for step 1, remove the percent sign and then write that number left over out of 100. Divide top and bottom by 4. 36 divided by 4 gives me 9, and 100 divided by 4 gives me 25. Final answer, 9 over 25. Okay, and that's how you write a percent to, or change a percent to a fraction. And that's it. Those are all the steps that you need. This is okay. You have work to do. You have a test coming up very, very soon, next week sometime. But I'll talk about that when I come back, hopefully sometime this week. Okay, you are going to be getting handouts. I want you to do all of these, okay, for homework. Okay, and that's that.